Welcome to Eritrea YouTube channel. Subscribe if you agree that we need relevant information and content for the Horn of Africa, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, Kenya, Sudan, and Africa in general. Today, I'm out to talk about recent developments of U.S. force deployment in the Horn of Africa. On Thursday, January 5th, 2023, JoplingGlobe.com and others released a news article headlined National Guard 294th to deploy to Horn of Africa. It was a news alert to invite the public to a deployment ceremony for the Missouri Army National Guard's 294th Engineer Company that will deploy to the Horn of Africa. It did not say where in the Horn of Africa, but it described it as a location in the easternmost part of the African mainland, which includes all or part of Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, Djibouti, and parts of Kenya, Sudan, South Sudan, and Uganda. So I think the vagueness led to the confusion and hysteria in social media, and because the statement in the article stated, citing security issues, the Missouri National Guard said it could not comment on the exact number of people being deployed. In other words, we don't know how many people are going. The question is, why are they going? According to the article, their mission will be to conduct vertical and horizontal construction projects with an emphasis on vertical construction to establish and maintain the infrastructure required to achieve and sustain activities across a range of military operations in the area. In other words, they're establishing an infrastructure in an area that is going to be a support base for the activities that the U.S. forces want to conduct in the region. And it goes further and it states, these construction tasks throughout the country are crucial for the contingency operations and will have a positive impact on real-world issues. They are going to a country. The country is strategically important enough that with an impact on real-world issues. So what is the impact, the positive impact on real-world issues? So in order to understand that, we need to look back into history, the geopolitical developments that took place in the Horn of Africa, specifically in Somalia and Ethiopia. So for context, the history of the competition, of Western competition in our region dates back centuries. But for this article, in response to this article, I'm focusing on the area, on the period after the Cold War and after World War II, because that's when the competition between the United States and the Soviet Union went on, and after the fall of the Soviet Union, the United States had a different role. So the United States came to the Horn of Africa after World War II. They established a federation program in Eritrea, allowed Ethiopia to take control of Eritrea, established a base in Eritrea, helped the Ethiopian government, Haile Selassie at that time, establish the Ethiopian Army and Navy, at the highest of levels. The United States had a base in Kanyo Station in Asmara from 1953, 52, 53 until 1976. The United States was in Eritrea, while the Soviet Union, Mohammed Siad Barre, the president of Somalia, came to office in 1969 after a coup, and forged a good relationship with the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union at that time were the primary supporters, military supporters of Somalia. As you know, the Ethiopia and Somalia were at war until 1978. 1977, the Soviet Union and Somalia severed ties because in 1974-75, Haile Selassie was thrown out of office by Colonel Mengistu Haile Mariam, the Derg regime, and established relationships with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union came into Ethiopia after the United States was thrown out in 1976, thrown out of Eritrea and Ethiopia in 1976. The United States wanted to establish itself back in the Horn of Africa. In 1977, the Carter administration took office, and they wanted to reestablish themselves in the Horn of Africa. So, in 1980, the United States and Somalia signed an agreement. The United States took over the port facilities and the air base that the Soviet Union used. This is Berbera Port, the current day Somaliland. So that's the area of focus that we need to focus on for this conversation, because this is where the U.S. Military is headed, I believe. In 1991, after the fall of the Soviet Union, the United States was the sole superpower without any competition. The Chinese were not established then. And in 1991, with the fall of the Soviets, President Siad Barre of Somalia was ousted and fled the country. And Somalia became a failed state. And that gave rise to Somaliland. The Somaliland area became autonomous region and started to establish its administration independent from Somalia. It was able to succeed in its efforts, mainly because of the TPLF, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, and the United States. So the agenda of presence in Berbera and Somalia was not new. However, Somaliland could not get recognition as an independent state from the United Nations. So it was operating as a de facto nation. The TPLF was supporting it for economic support, military, logistics, and all kinds of things. And the State Department was actively engaged with Somaliland. In 2010, Johnny Carson, the Undersecretary for African Affairs, the State Department, went to Puntland and Somaliland. Recently, the U.S. Africa Command. General Townsend was in Somaliland. So this has been in the works for a long time. Um, but now the situation has drastically changed because China's presence in the region, China's uh, having a presence in Djibouti, a military presence in Djibouti, makes the U.S. presence in Djibouti makes the U.S. presence in Djibouti, it balances out the U.S. presence and Chinese presence in the area, in the region, in the Bab el Mandeb area, on the Red Sea area. And the Somaliland wanted to position themselves, they wanted to attract the American government, and they have been lobbying the American government for a long time. And they have some supporters in the United States. People like Ambassador Peter Pham, Ambassador Tibor Nagy have been actively lobbying for a long, long time to help Somalia become independent or be recognized by Congress as an independent state. The Biden administration did not um, accept the idea of Somaliland as an independent state, but they understood the importance of Somaliland in for the geopolitical uh, reasons. Somaliland is the Berbera port is located between the Red Sea, the Bab el Mandeb, and key ports in Somalia, in Kenya, and Seychelles. And from that, the United States could control a wide range of maritime space. And so it is important. They've been working, trying to get in there. Um, Finally, after years of lobbying, and one of the important point here is the Somaliland leadership has been lobbying the United States as anti-Iran and, but most importantly, anti-China. And what does that mean? They recognize Taiwan, angering China. They also opened the Taiwanese embassy in Somaliland. That angered the Somalian government. They did not accept it. They rejected it, and they went out and they protested against it. So did the Chinese.
The relations has gotten closer in the Somaliland region in the northwest of your country and the Chinese region of Taiwan. In 2020, Somaliland has opened up a Taiwan representative office, and most recently an official visited Taiwan and said that no country can indicate the Somaliland's diplomatic relations. So what do you make of these statements?
We condemn.
So they positioned the Somaliland leadership positioned themselves as anti-China and as anti-Iran, which gives the United States military exclusivity. In other words, there are nobody else, unlike Djibouti, the United States is the only power that is going to be positioned in Somaliland. Somaliland is extremely important to them, to the United States. It's a strategic uh, place because it borders Somalia in the south. It borders Ethiopia in the west, Puntland, Djibouti on the north, And you have on the east the ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the Bab el Mandeb, very close to the Bab el Mandeb area. So it is a very, very strategically important place. From that area, the United States can reach out to all these different countries in the region, the countries that we mentioned earlier, and namely, basically all the countries in the Horn of Africa, including Kenya and Uganda. And so it is a distribution area, a logistical area. They're establishing this area. So what does it mean to our region? That means what it means is it's an escalation. The U.S., the AFRICOM, is really establishing itself at the highest of levels, and they have a place where they can bring all the equipment that they need, all this, military hardware that they need, and the personnel that they need to be able to do a lot of different things from an area. So that is the situation. They are not necessarily sending troops to Ethiopia, sending troops to Kenya, to Sudan, to South Sudan, and all the different areas that were mentioned. They are going to be positioned in this area. And the reason they're doing it is because Congress accepted it. They passed the Horn, they passed a legislation, 2023 U.S. Defense Authorization Act, embracing Somaliland engagement. In other words, they are going to actively engage in Somaliland. And what the Senate required from the State Department is the U.S. Department of Defense. What is the NDAA? The NDAA says about Somaliland. It requires from U.S. State Department, U.S. Department of Defense, and USAID to submit an annual report to Congress detailing assistance, diplomatic engagement, and security initiatives in Somaliland. It requires the State Department and Defense Department to produce feasibility studies by June 2023, opportunities for enhanced security collaboration between the U.S. and Somaliland. It distinguishes Somaliland from the federal member state of Somalia. It charts a path for greater engagement between the U.S. and Somaliland. Somaliland people and their government are indebted. They are really happy with this outcome because they've been lobbying to get this for a long time. So this is where we are. What can we do about it? My hope is that the African Union, the international community, sees this, and I would hope that the people of Somalia, the people of Horn of Africa, protest these developments. So basically, that's where we are. If you like this type of content, please make sure to subscribe, share, like. Thank you for watching. Please follow Eritrea YouTube channel and nafasi.com. Thank you.